Hi, and welcome back to another episode of Project Stargate Friends Research. I'm your host, Mark Brenner,
And I'm your co-host, Kalian Biceby.
and we're so glad to have you today. And today's special guest is Mr. Russ Kellett. He is an a UFO investigator. He's been written magazine articles in the UK about all kinds of paranormal and UFO related events. He's also an experiencer himself, involved in several special access programs that we're going to find out all the juicy details about that. I'm going to let you hear from his mouth about this stuff. Some of the stuff is very interesting and stuff you get straight out of the X Files. We're gonna get him on here in just a few minutes. But at any rate, Mr. Biceby, what's up, man? You doing okay, brother?
I'm doing all right. How about you?
I'm doing wonderful, man. I woke up late today. We work overnight at one of the mega retailers warehouse places. I don't know if that's a proper word or not, but I'm just going to use it anyways. At any rate, we in my sleep schedule, and his sleep schedule is kind of wacky. I got my rock star punched, and he's got his drink, and we're ready for a riveting conversation with our today's guest. But before we bring him on here in just a few minutes, Mr. Biceby, me and you have had some conversations before in the past regarding the historical mythology and whatnot. And you've been doing your research, correct?
Correct.
Well, we're going to get into that here in one of the near upcoming episodes. We're going to talk about historical mythology and whatnot. But at any rate, our guest is with us here, Mr. Russ Kellett. He is an author. He's written magazine articles. He's an experiencer, and he is involved in possibly in some special access programs. We're going to get to the nitty gritty and talk about Britain's Roswell. Oh, I'm excited about that. Mr. Russ Kellett, welcome to Project Stargate Friends Research, and thank you for being with us.
Hi there, Mark.
Mr. Kellett, tell us a little bit about your background, why you got into all this spooky woo. What happened?
It started, many years ago. The first childhood memory I had was my dad coming home after work, and he was a carpet weaver, and they'd been on a break early hours at morning, and they were stood outside on the break, and my dad was talking to one of his workmates, and my dad had 3 brothers that worked there, and talking to their workmates in front of him, and there were a lot of shouting going on. And my dad looked over to see what was going on, and he says, "What's up? What are you shouting at?" And one of the workmates and his brother shouts, "Look up there, look." So my dad looked around his mate, and he says, "What are you looking at?" And he says, "Oh, you've missed it." He says, "What are you UFO?" And one of the other workmates says, "Oh," he said, it were a torpedo-shaped UFO. And one of the other workmates says, "Oh, we're more like a cigar shape." So anyway, to cut a long story short, my dad was a little bit miffed because he'd missed it. Him and his friend are talking, they'd missed it, and the rest had seen it. So, but he'd started buying magazines after that, and books, and only a young kid, and I remembered him coming with books about UFOs, Bermuda Triangle, Loch Ness Monster, Bigfoot, So it must have had, a big effect on him for him to, start looking into the subject, And I think at that time as well, his brother, my uncle, he'd subscribed well, he told me when I spoke to him a few years ago to a magazine from America on the subject of UFOs. So anyway, that was like a very young age, 4, and it stuck in my mind, you know. So coming more up to date, in my teens, I went out and I'd seen a UFO, and it was like a ball of light, and I shouted to my sister, "Look at that, look, a UFO." And she said, "I'll go in and tell my mum." So by the time she'd gone in and told my mum had come out, it had gone. So they were shouting at me, "Don't mess us about," you know, sort of like, you know, sort of like telling us there's something where when there isn't. And I said, "Well, it were here when I called of you an hour ago." So, you know, sort of like, then what happened? This is maybe a couple of years after that. We were all playing a game down the back streets. We lived down a back street, you know, like, and we're playing what you would call hide and seek. And as usual, I was always the first to get caught. So I went up top of the street where I'd been caught and sat down, and there were like a nail sticking up out of the ground. And I was messing about with this nail, you know, sticking out of the ground. It's where there'd been a garage, and they pulled the garage down, and this nail must have had some wood around it. The wood had rotted, so there was just a nail sticking up. So I'm sat pulling this nail, looking up, and I looked up again, and I seen this object, and it was big, round, and it was like segments of an orange, and it were like white, red, white, red, white, red, white, red, all the way around. And I shouted out, look, a UFO. And I remember one of my friends shouted, "Shut up, just because you've been caught, don't mean to say we're going to get caught." And I'm saying, "Look," I said, "I'm not joking." I says, "It's a UFO, look at it." And it was big. And one by one, I could see heads popping up of my friends from over walls behind, you know, garden fences and over gates and from behind a garage and what have you. And one by one, they all started running to the top of the street, you know, the back street. And anyway, to cut a long story short, they all run. It moved from left to right. And I were again last one across the road, and I'd sort of like just missed it when I'd crossed over the road and what have you. And I said, "Where's it gone?" And one of my friends said, "Oh, it went into a cloud rust." And I said, "Oh," but I'd seen it when it was closer to me than anybody, you know. So we're all talking about it, and I'm sat back down, and you know, there's one or two people saying, "Oh, it were an hot air balloon." And I said, "No, it won't." I said, "What did you run if it were a hot air balloon for? What did you run for then?" And I said, "You could see it wasn't a hot air balloon." I said, "It was wrong shape." I said, "It were a perfect circle. There were no basket underneath it, and there were no people. There were no burner." I says, "Come on," I says, "admit to it, there were no burner, there were no basket, were there?" I says, "And look at the size of it." I said, "It was bigger than a hot air balloon." Anyway, one of my mates then turned around and says, "We're going to have to call this day or something. We're going to have to name this where we'd seen it. Give it a name."
Exactly. I did something similar one time, Russ. We have an area here in this north state of part of Georgia that I've coined the Coal Mountain Triangle because of its all the weird stuff that goes on, a whole hodgepodge of different types of weird phenomenon that happens in this area. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I understand the idea of coining of terms and stuff like that. Go ahead.
So, I mean, it was pretty important. And for my friend to say that you know. So I said, well, look, I was sat here and I saw it from this point and there's a nail sticking out. So I said, why not call it nail point? He says, yeah, we'll call it nail point. Now, 15 years later, my friend had come out of, I think he'd come out of the tank regiment. And I had a shop, I'd opened a shop. And he were looking, and I seen this face looking in, and he came in shop and he gives it, Russ. And I said, all right, how are you doing? He says, all right. He said, is this your shop? I said, yeah. Wow, he says. The next thing he said was, do you remember nail point? I said, how can I forget it? So that must have stuck in his mind all those years later for him to come in. First time he seen me in 15 years. And like the first thing after saying that, you know, like, all right, Russ, is this your shop? The first thing to say, do you remember nail point? Wow.
So you've had experiences with and without other people going. How far back do you think it goes? Do you think it goes past your? Do you think this goes generationally back past to your parents and your grandparents and your great grandparents and so on and so forth? Do you see any evidence that this might be a generational thing going on?
Well, there was something that said, which I don't believe in this, to be quite honest, and that is, my mum were talking about a blood group, and it was supposed to be O rhesus. I think hers is positive, but O rhesus negative and positive are supposed to be the two types of blood that, if you have, are supposed to be a good indication that, you know, there's something going on where an alien race is more likely more susceptible to being taken. I don't know how true it is because, like I said, I don't even know my blood group. I should do, but I don't.
Join the club. You know, I don't either.
I've been in hospital quite a number of times over the years because I became ill after I had a close encounter to start off with. So anyway, it was about that time when, you know, like, I think that was one of the last years that we had as a group of friends playing out in the summer holidays, you know, because after that, my friend who said, let's name it, you know, a special name for this area, he moved that very year, just like that, just, you know, a shock to us all. He moved. Then another friend, his dad lost his job. They had to move out of the house. Then another friend, his mum had a real good job. She moved. They moved. So, like, you know, it was that time when, you know, you were young, you were just getting, you know, in your teens and just ready to start work or move to upper school or university, college, you know. And I'd started a job in an American company over here. It made clothes, military clothing, and it went on from that to making overalls. It was called AIS, Initial Services. So I started a job at 16. I'd no sooner December later on that year, I started a job after my birthday. So I had a birthday and left school straight away, you know. So riding around, at that time I had a Suzuki ER trail bike, and I'd been riding around, and big rule was, you're working now, you know, you've got a motorbike, you've got your own way. I didn't want you to have one, my mum said, but You know, you get in at a reasonable hour, you know, and if you know, get in for work the next morning, you know, all had been okay. Everything had been great until this one evening. I was riding down this road, a road that I'd been down many times before. And in the middle of the road was what I could only describe as a tunnel. The next thing,
so you're driving down the road, and then you encounter what looks like a tunnel. Is this a road you've driven down before many times?
a road that I've been down many times before.
Okay. Okay. So I see. Okay. Then just get that. Thank you for showing that, because that gives me a little bit more perspective as to what you're talking about. And you're on your Suzuki.
More rounder. I don't know why he's more rounder than that. Anyway, so I'm putting my brakes on, trying to slow down because I don't like the look of this. I don't like the look of it whatsoever.
I'll blame you.
It don't look like a normal, what you would call a normal everyday, you know, sort of like what you would call a tunnel, you know, transport tunnel, you know, for transport. You know, a tunnel takes quite a long time to build, doesn't it? You know, it doesn't just happen overnight. But this must have. And I'm thinking to myself I'm thinking in my mind that don't tally.
Yeah, that's really strange.
Yeah. So the next thing, now I am in a chair and I'm laid back, and it's like a dentist chair, and I have this injection in the back of my neck, and I'm looking around, and there's these tall, bald humans, massive, look like Nosferatu.
Well, that's creepy.
Yeah, blue tight uniforms with like a white overall or bib down the front. A few of them were wearing, not all of them, but one or two were wearing them. And I sit back and I sit back and put my head on this thing that stuck out, this like rest, and open my mouth, and they put a tube down my mouth and down my throat, you know, and then along the taps with this helmet. And I'm thinking, oh my God. And I'm sort of like struggling, and then they're saying, don't struggle, put this on. The next thing, I'm being raised up in the air, and I'm looking around, and I'm like really quite high up in the air, and there's people in a long line each side of me and below, and they're all in the same position. And I'm thinking, God, you know, where am I? What they're doing? And there's this arena, this massive arena. And all of a sudden, this information comes up on this visor, because it's like a motorbike helmet.
Okay, I want to stop you there for Mr. Kellett for 1 second, if I may.
Yeah,
Kalen, what he's saying is very interesting, and the reason I say that, there's a guy in Mississippi who was on a television program several years ago, and he's from where my parents live in South Mississippi, and this is very similar to what him and some other people have had accounts of being indoctrinated into this program, Kalen. It's like, and for lack of a better term, it sounds like a super soldier type program of some kind. It's like they're getting him ready for some sort of conflict. I just want to make sure you understand where we're going with this, Kalen.
Yeah.
Do you understand where he's coming from? Because I want to make sure you and our listeners understand for sure. Okay, cool. Mr. Kellett, sorry for the interruption. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, it's okay. So I'm looking, and there's all this information. It's like basic battle skills coming up and you know, sort of like telling you what to do in certain situations, and I'm thinking, and now there's images as well now, you know, and I'm thinking, what are you telling me this for? Because, you know, sort of like no interest in the army as such. Yeah, I've got a motorbike. I do shoot. I've got, you know, like only air rifles at that time, and you know, sort of like target shooting. So, but I'm thinking, why would they be telling who's doing this? The next thing, I'm on my motorbike, almost off of it, and keeping it upright because it's at stall speed, and I'm putting my throttle back and just going down the road now, and I'm thinking, do not look back. Don't look back.
Yep.
You've got to look back. So I'm looking back and I'm thinking, what happened there? I'm thinking, well, you know, what happened there? Anyway, I carries on home, and I comes in, and the lights are out, it's all in darkness, turn my engine off and put my stand on and come into the door, and I'm thinking to myself, it looks like everybody's in bed. This ain't good. You know what I mean?
You've been gone
All of
for
a
God
sudden,
knows how long.
so the thing is, I usually were home for 11 o'clock. Right, yeah. The rule was get in at a reasonable time. 11
Right.
o'clock, 12 at the latest, but have a good excuse. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, you have an excuse. I was abducted by non-human entities. That's a good excuse for sure. And it's a shame that
Yeah,
not many more people are open to that too.
Yeah, but I mean, the thing is, I couldn't tell what had happened. I couldn't, you know, I mean, like, I mean, it was just a bizarre thing that happened. And I'm thinking, well, what actually did happen?
So Kalen, what he's saying, Kalen's learning a little bit more about ufology. He's kind of new to ufology. He's more adept in other fringe fields of research. But what he's saying, Kalen, is when after this experience, it's like that they blocked out his memory in some way. It's like they tried to implement some sort of like a blank screen memory or something to where he doesn't remember what happened. That's a very commonality. Did you have any questions for him so far?
It's kind of like, well, no, not any questions. It kind of sounds like the term for sleeper agent in a way. If you've ever heard of the term.
Well, yeah, it's like they're prepping him for some sort of indoctrinating
War.
him. Yeah, it's like that. But yeah, please continue.
Well, the thing is, I remember it, but I don't remember it as like an alien abduction, if you know what I mean. Well, let's put it this way. Let's go back. What I remember, right, yeah. Now, which I've just told you. My mum opened the door and she says, "What time do you call this?" And I says, "What time is it?" And she says, 2 o'clock in the morning. Get in, get to bed, don't let it happen again. So, ooh, you know what I mean? It's like I've managed to upset my mum.
Oh boy.
Which is not a good thing. You know what I mean?
No,
She says,
never a good thing.
and I'm going to tell your dad as well. She says in the morning. She says, get in at a reasonable hour. So, now then, what happens again? This is maybe a few months later. I'm on my motorbike again, and the same thing happens. And I'm thinking, not that tunnel again. Brakes on, no matter what, down it again, in this room, and head back, injection, mouth open, tube down, helmet on, raised up. all this information, you know, sort of like the next thing, back on my motorbike. This time I'm nearly hitting the wall, you know what I mean? Sort of like brake on, all background, travelling home, gets home again, and the same thing, you know, sort of like mum not happy at all. You know, in fact, I think this time I got a smack at the back of the head when I was going in through the door. Get in! You know what I mean? Get in! Oh, you know, sort of like, yeah, you know, sort of like, next time it'll be the dog lead. I had the dog, used to get, if me and my sister misbehaved, we got the dog lead. Couldn't do it these days, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
So,
Right. Yeah. You
but,
go to
you know,
jail for
anyway.
that now. Yeah. I same thing for me. Because I deserve
So-
most of it, though. I'm just going to be really honest. I probably deserved every bit of it. I got in trouble.
Oh, yeah, yeah, same here. So anyway, this goes on now, you know. Again, I'm out. I've been to a friend's house, and I thought I'll go another way. I'll go another way, you know. Instead of going that way, I'll go a different way, and ended up again going down. This is in a different road this time, but it's there. So I thought to myself, I'm going to fly through this, throttle back, boom. And I must have knocked every, I don't know what happened, but there was some sort of faces looking at me when I was sat down, you know, sort of like injection in the neck, you know what I mean? Sort of like, ooh.
They're like, we
Because
got
they're all
you.
looking at me. So, whether I'd run some of them over, I don't know, but
That's
you
crazy,
know what I mean?
man.
Sort of
You're like, I'm going to show them. I'm going to show them this time, and they still got you. That's typical. That's typical from what I've heard. I we're coming up in the middle of the hour. I want to get before we go further. I want to get into a little bit of question answer. If you don't mind, and before we get to the end of the hour, and before we go to break, Mr. Kellett, as far as your experiences go, now one thing I have noticed in my own personal experience, I haven't had that type of experience, but I've had missing time. I've had instances of missing time. I don't. What happened during that time? They did a good job covering it up. These entities, whoever or whatever they are, because we really don't know what we're dealing with at the end of the day. They could be ETs for certain. They could be interdimensional entities. They could be angels. They could be all kinds of things. But at the end of the day, do you think that we're coming up? Do you think this has anything to do with that? This has a conjunction possibly with spiritual matters? Oh, that is so creepy. Oh Lord, that's so creepy.
It's funny. I was
Yeah,
drawing it what it could possibly look like too.
He's an art. Kayla's an artist.
Yeah,
he's an artist. He's a very skilled artist, I might add. And it looks like you are. Did you draw those?
Yeah.
Oh wow, you're a good artist too, man. And for those of you listening on Spotify, if you check out our YouTube channel, you can see these wonderful sketches that he's done of these entities. So we got some hybrid type creatures of some kind. It almost looks like a dog man or something.
A horse type.
Yeah, a horse or a dog man. And then we got a Nosferatu looking guy too.
Oh.
That is creepy, Kalen. Oh my God, that's creepy. Lord have mercy.
That just gives me more theories about the Egyptian gods now.
Yeah, well, very, very similar. Considering that one of the missions that we were on, we were inside a pyramid.
Kalen, go back into. Let's go. But let's look at that for a minute. Oh my God, that looks like a vampire.
Yeah.
You aren't kidding when you said that they look like Nosferatu. You were not kidding.
Oh no, I was petrified.
Anybody would have been. Kaylin, I want to hear, you just made a good point, Kaylin, about the Egyptian gods. Can we have,
Yes.
can you give us a little bit of, can you give us some commentary on that?
Mostly Egyptian gods, if I know, mainly have heads of animals. Like Ra has a bird, usually a falcon or an eagle. There's another one, Anubis, god of the underworld, head of a dog. I forgot the crocodile god. Goddess? God is head of a crocodile and goes down and down and down to each god, having their own roles and stuff. And there's been a lot of theories that they're aliens, or my theory was that they could have been like fallen angels or somewhat, but it could be more it could be more alien like.
Or it could be a crazy combination of all of that.
Oh yes.
I was watching the Hellraiser remake the other day, and when I was watching the movie, something came to mind. We look at the Greys, for example, the short ones, specifically. They have no belly, like my friend Daryl Sims said. They have no belly button. They have no pectorals. They have no breasts. They have no genitals. So that tells me that these entities may be grown, hatched, or cloned for some purpose to interact with mankind, kind of like a biological android. That's what I'm kind of leaning towards also as far as those go. But I think that what they do is they work for a higher intelligence that's messing with lots of DNA for a selfish purpose on their own, a purpose that we still don't know. But I think Russ I think he may be part of the answer to this mystery. Russ, do you think that they're doing some sort of biological experiment to create different types of beings on just for their selfish purposes, or what do you think is going on?
Well, all as I can say is that when I go on, you sort of like realize what's going on. Sort of like as the story goes, you'll understand a little bit more. Do you want me to shall I carry on then?
Yes, carry on, please. I'm sorry we keep getting off track. This is just I'm fascinating with what you're talking about. This is really gripping. Please continue. Please.
So, cut a long story short, what happens is I from a motorbike I get a scooter, and I've met new people, and I've been doing a lot of martial arts training, and I'd had this accident and fell off this wall and bust my left knee really bad.
Oh man!
And I met this chap who was supposed to be a master in kung fu, and he did acupuncture. And at this dojo, he turned around and he said, "Look, I'll give you some medicine," he said, "for your knee." He says, in the form of acupuncture. He said, "If you call over, give me his address where he lived and what have you." He said, "I'll tell the wife," he says, "and you can come and have an evening with us and a chat of coffee, and I'll do your knee, acupuncture on your knee." So I'd arranged to go over and see him, and so I goes over, and fantastic. Had a real, sort of like nice time and what have you. And on my way home, and it's quite near this area that I used to go. I used to go up to this place, and it was where the 9th Legion, Roman Legion, was supposed to have disappeared at a place called Bingley. And above Bingley, there was this place called Druid's Altar. And I used to go meditate up there. I went up and meditated. Probably the worst thing you can do is meditate on an altar.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
I agree.
No,
but you don't. I'm sure you didn't think about that before you did it.
So anyway, and it's where this has been happening, where I've come across this tunnel, is at the bottom of something called Altar Lane, right? So, and it's at the bottom of Druid's Altar Lane, you see. So I'm riding home on my scooter, and it a lot slower than my motorbike. So I'm struggling to get up this road, and there's no way, I won't go in fast enough. I was in the tunnel again, and the same scenario, and I'm laid back, and all this is going on, and the next thing, after being raised up and helmet on, with the tube and what have you, it was like back on my motorbike, back on my scooter this time, and travelling home and getting in, and the lights were on, but it were late. It were late. We're probably about 12 o'clock. So the door were open. I walked in, but still there were, like, oh well, you made it home a little bit earlier tonight, And I thought to myself, shall I tell her about what's been going on? Shall I tell her? Anyway, I didn't want to worry her. So a few months later now, I'd got a bigger scooter, faster and what have you, and I'd gone over to my friend's house again for some more acupuncture. As I'm riding down this road, I'm looking up, and as I looked up, I could see what looked like a tall, like an astronaut, but massive, as tall as the trees. So I pulled in, and I'm slowing down and looking, and I'm thinking to myself, that looks like it's an astronaut. It's a giant.
Wow.
And it's just walked behind a tree. So I looked, came back out, and carried on, turned right, and went on to the estate where my friend and his wife lived. So anyway, I pulled up, walked up the drive, rung the bell, knocked on the door, and my friend came, Jeff, he came to the door. He says, all right, Russ, come in. And I says, hang on. I says, you won't believe what I've just seen. I says, it was like a giant astronaut just walked behind one of those big trees, one of those big oak trees. I said, I walked behind it, and he said, oh, I said, up there near Druid Dot, and he gives it, oh yeah, you get a lot of strange things like that around here. Come in. And I'm like, like, we're like nothing to him. Oh yeah, we get a lot of strange things like that around here.
The United Kingdom seems like a very mysterious place. Like not just all of the islands. It just seems like it's just one massive hodgepodge of high strangeness and wonderful history. My father used to live in Sussex for 3 years when my grandfather was stationed in the Air Force over there. This is before Rendlesham, by the way.
Yeah.
But that sounds really interesting. I think this is a good place to take a short break. But when we come back, I want to hear more about your personal experiences. Then I want to get into UFOs in the UK. I want to get into the UK's Roswell situation that you're known for, and we want to get into some of the more riveting cases that we haven't ever discussed on this program before. You're listening to Project Stargate Friends Research. We're here with our special guest, Mr. Russ Kellett, and my co-host, Kaylin Bispay, and we'll be right back in just a few moments. All right, welcome back to Project Stargate. We're here with our special guest, Mr. Russ Kellett, and my co-host, Kaylin. Welcome back, gentlemen. And before we went to break, we were talking about Russ's incredible experiences in some sort of program, some very secret program that was run by some non-human entities, and possibly maybe even some. There might have been some human interaction with this. Go ahead and let's get this back on the road, Russ. What happened next?
So basically, what happened? I'd been in my friend's home and had acupuncture on my knee again. Sat down afterwards and had a coffee and talking about the area. And the area is well known for giants. There's a famous case 15 miles down the road there where there was a picture taken of something called the Ilkley alien, where a flying saucer was supposed to have landed, but all across that moorland, got an air in my mouth then. all along that mound, we have stories of giants. Now, remember, I'd seen a giant up there, like in a uniform of a spaceman, you know. So that's a little bit odd, but it fits in with something else that happened later on. So I've said goodnight and I'm back on my scooter riding home. And I thought to myself, if I go that way, am I going to come into contact with this again, you know? So anyway, I thought, I'm not bothered. Bring it on. So, you know, it's like bravado talking. Turns left, turns right, goes up, and it's there again. So I put my throttle back and I thought to myself, I might hit something here. And if I go too fast, I might not stop. I might end up over this wall, you know. So I put my brakes on because I panicked a little bit. And I put my brakes on so hard that my front brake snapped. The cable snapped.
Uh-oh.
And I'm back inside the room again. This time, what's happening is like different. They're all there around. I had this injection in my neck and what have you. And so now, I think it was this time. Just try to think it was this time. Yeah. I ended up on I'm down now, like on a checkerboard floor. Massive big floor, room, checkerboard floor. Yeah. And there's people at the side of me, both sides. And I'm naked and I'm thinking, your neck. The next thing, there's like a mist all on me, all around, you know. And then there's this heat, like being dried. It's a bit like a shower, but without all the water, if you know what I mean. So now what happens is that this wall comes forward and this thing comes down and these pipes are down. And we're told to drink from these pipes. So drunk more, drink this water from this other pipe, and all of a sudden we're sick. And we've been sick into this sluice that's come down. Told to drink some more, we're sick again. Then we're told to drink some water, told to drink some more water. And then all of a sudden the sluice has gone up, the pipes are up and the wall's gone back. So now what happens is we like in this mist again, and a lot more misty though this time. And then there's this heat, so we're stood there now, and this wall comes forward, and these lockers are in front of us, and we're told open the locker. There's an helmet. We remember this because it's shown us before in battle skills, but it reminds us. Right, yeah, you don't touch the weapon, you don't pick the weapon up unless you've got the helmet on. Put the helmet on first. Take the helmet out, put it on. Then you've got the rifle. Take the rifle out, and there's like 3 magazines. Right, yeah. Now you can either clip them at the side of the gun, the rifle, or you can clip 2, and you can put the other magazine in this actual slot. But these magazines don't have rounds in or bullets in. These are sound weapons, and the magazines are batteries. You do not ever fire the weapon without having the helmet on. Right, yeah, the sound weapons, and they'll burst your eardrums. So now we've got his weapons in his hands. We're told to put them over his shoulder, close the locker. Right, yeah. Well, before that, sorry, we had this like very thin and light suit, and it's white, and it's like a curtain, you know, thin material. Put it on, and it almost fastened itself. And there's two buttons, knobs, one at the top there, one below it. The top one, you turn it like so, and what happens is, as you turn it, it goes from white to yellow to dark yellow to green to dark green to blue to dark blue to black. All the time, it's tightening up. And on the bottom as well, there's like bolts attached, and you've got bolts on as well. And you feel invincible. You feel invincible, a feeling that, you know, it's unbelievable, the power you feel. So we've got that on, the helmet's on, the weapon, we're told, put it over his shoulder and what have you know, behind us. And now what's happening is that the lockers go forward again, and we're told to turn left in line. And these things come up out of the ground, and they're like pillars. And on the pillars, one at each side, left side of you, right side of you, there's these, what I could only describe as crystal balls on top of these pillars. The pillars are all lighting up from the bottom to the top. And as soon as it touches the top, where these two crystal balls are, the pillars come down, and these crystal balls are hovering. Now, that's happened in front of us in this big line. What happens is you put your hands above these crystal balls, and then you go straight forward through this gateway. There's a big doorway, and everybody else has gone through. Now it's my turn. Now I'm going through. The next thing, my visor's telling me where we are. I'm landed now, and it tells me get into formation, and I'm looking around, and it's telling me everything I need to know. And there's a voice from headquarters, HQ, telling us, you know, go to your left, get to the ground, and then the unit leaders telling us we're looking for an invisible. It's something. It's invisible. It's a fortress. Now we don't know. We can't find it, but it's here somewhere. And when I was walking, I seen a glitch. It's sort of like a glitch, and I pointed out. I said, "There's something here. If you walk, it sort of like it goes from one thing to another. It doesn't follow on like it should do." So we had a look, and we realised I'd found this actual area. So now we found it, they found us, because they know that we're looking at this area. All hell breaks loose.
Wow.
There's a firefight. There's a battle taking place. We're actually fighting these aliens, which are like dragons. They're like they're 15 foot tall. They've got a dragon's face. You know,
wow.
Just unbelievable.
This sounds like D&D a little bit. That's wild.
Say again, sorry.
I said that sounds like Dungeons and Dragons a little bit. That's pretty wild, man.
Yeah.
and they've got allies, and their allies look like there's different ones. There's green dragons, white dragons, there's the blue dragons, and the reddy brown dragons, and they've all got different allies. Some are like European, some are like African, some are Slavic, some are Chinese. You know, some like they look like more or less United States military uniforms. You know, sort of like, and we're fighting them. They're our enemies because they're the enemy of the race that's abducted us, that's put us into this unit. So now this is me.
Oh wow.
Oh wow.
And those were like assault rifles. Were they kind of like what we would like? What I would have had? Were they? Let me rephrase my question. I'm looking at this picture. For those of you listening on Spotify or Amazon, Mr. Kellett is showing a picture he drew of these beings, and they were in these black uniforms and what looked like what looks like your standard typical assault rifle. Were those assault rifles? Would you say that they were remodeled after our assault rifles, or were they some sort of other alien technology? What do you think they were?
They're sound weapons. That's my unit. That was me on the left. Back then, you know, like 30 years ago, but I was a little bit fitter. The weapons are very, very similar to a Colt carbine.
Okay.
Yeah.
They were like carbines.
They're very similar as well to the old, you know, the G1 Eckler and Koch G1.
Yeah.
Okay. I carried an M16A4 when I was in the infantry.
Yeah, I've used an M16. Very similar as well. Very similar to the Belgian FN rifle.
Wow,
you know, the FN, you know, semi-automatic. Anyway, but they're not. Now, at first, when we had them, there were only sound weapons, and later on, we had a cannon. We had the next generation up, which had a laser cannon, and underneath it, because that was for heavier firepower. Some of the technology, I tell you, one of the things that I loved was one of the motorbikes. It's an hoverbike, right? Yeah, and it's like a motorbike. It hovers, and you pull the throttle back in, and at the front there's a gun, a cannon, and there's the sights built into the fairing. So when you've got your head down and you're looking through the fairing, right? Yeah, you've got your sight in front of you, and you've got a button there, and you just press the button, and it fires a laser cannon, and you can see it firing, and you're maneuvering and sort of like firing at the same time. So whenever you move left and right, you know, that goes. You've got your crosshairs. So unbelievable. Only trouble is I'm not right good at riding one of them. You know what I mean? Because I wrecked one, sort of like hit a tree. But anyway, we won't get into that. So, but yeah, we've got laser cannons, we've got sound weapons, and we're fighting. There's a number of different aliens. Now, we did come across the blue aliens. Now, the blue aliens are tall blue aliens. I've seen drawings of them with like feathers and stuff. Nothing like them. Bit more chunkier than the normal aliens, you know, the EBs, and about 10 foot tall. And their allies are like Chinese, and they're nasty, and they are one of the worst that I've come across, fighting against them and the Chinese. Unbelievable. And the technology what they've got, just unbelievable. Now, on the planet, when we get taken off this world, this planet, we go to the aliens planet, and we're like working from their planet, going from there to here to different planets. So we could be usually. Now, what happened was I was put in a unit because they found I had telepathic powers, right? So on my what we have, I'm in a unit, right? Yeah, called Omega Unit, but I'm an Omega Unit, and we're attached, and we're to the T company, which are telepaths. So I'm a telepathic scout. Now, most of the telepaths that look after the planet and the facilities, right? Yeah, where the aliens that take me come from, right? Have a special unit looking after them. This special unit are mostly women from Earth because they've got telepathic powers. The women from Earth have got telepathic powers, and that's why they take them.
I believe that everybody, if you don't mind me cutting in real quick, Russ,
No.
I after studying parapsychology for many years, I believe that all humans have, to some degree, have these abilities. I think some people are more naturally adept than others. And the reason I say that, because we know in top secret programs like Project Stargate, for example, which I named our podcast after, work that was done at the UCLA parapsychology lab in California, we've learned that anybody can be trained to use to remote view, for example. Some people were just naturally more adept than others. I just wanted to throw that in real quick. Please continue.
So what it enables them to do, the guards, they're special guards, is to see 15 minutes. Some even can pick up before that, half an hour, that something is going to materialize in an area. Now, the way they materialize is exactly the same way as when we go from that room with these balls of light, these what you call crystal balls. What we're actually doing is teleporting. So from there, we're teleporting from that room to wherever we've been sent to, right? Now, if somebody sees us, you know, sort of like it's like, oh, they're there. But it's the same principle that we teleport, they teleport also. They've got the capability and technology to teleport. But the women in the units, the guard units, can see them, like I say, the best are like half an hour before. So they're prepared half an hour before they turn up. And there's, you know what I mean? If you're in that situation when you're teleporting and you just land and they're waiting for you, apart from hightail it out of there before being shot, which is not easy. You know what I mean? So this is why they choose these women to be guards. Now, I was found to be a telepath. So what we do is we're called scout telepaths. So we go out on missions and we looking for whatever, whether it's units, you know, sort of like underground units or whatever, you know. This is what we're sent to do. Also, we're sent to take people, or as we say, lift them. So we're there specifically to lift either high-ranking officers, you know, or people in government. So we'll lift them, take them back to the planet, and basically what happens then is they usually have mind control done to them before we take them back and put them back into whatever jobs or, you know, in the military or in the government. So we're no better than them. You know what I mean? Sort of like, but it's just something that we do. So we'll abduct people, take them, and do, you know, because probably what's going on this planet, you know, sort of like, and there's more than one alien race, and this is the problem. You know, they're not all the white, the brown, the blue, the green, and the red. You know, sort of like you know, giant, sort of like half dragon, half human. There's the small alien greys. There's the large alien greys, the blue alien greys that are working alongside the Chinese. But one of the other dragon races working alongside them as well.
Wow.
You know, so there's all sorts going on. You know, so like I say, so you know how we travel now. We travel in these units with these two balls of light. I always watch out for two balls of light because that's usually somebody traveling.
Absolutely.
If you look in night sky and I see two balls of light, I go, oh, that's one of ours. It's probably one of ours. It's probably somebody traveling. But usually it's in the split second. When that's happening, that means they're slowed down and they're going to be landing somewhere. You know?
Right. The entities in transit, a lot of people witness orbs and during UFO events, or before UFO events, or after UFO events, for that matter. And what a lot of us are starting to contemplate is that these orbs may be, in fact, very well be, in fact, entities in transit of some kind.
Yeah, well, like I said, the thing is, if you look at this on the back there, right, before we used to have his hands cupped over these, right, yeah? Later on, we don't need to. Later on, they're traveling in front of us. And before they used to go back into the room and then come back for us, where later on, when we got these new backpacks, you can't really see it, but there's a cutaway. And the balls actually go inside there. So when we land, that's where and then they come back out when we get called back to base or moving to another area. They'll just pop back out, and then they take us. So I tell you what, I have noticed. Oops, I've noticed that when I've been watching these programs about Bigfoot, I've noticed that there's always like two strange lights in the trees moving. You know, all of a sudden, two strange lights will be seen, and then two more will be seen, and then two more will be seen, and then Bigfoot will turn up, and somebody will say, "Wow, Bigfoot turned up," and two sort of like balls of light turned up. Well, that's funny because that is a telecommunicate. That's one of our ways of traveling. That's a teleportation unit. So is somebody there teleporting at the side of a Bigfoot?
I think that Bigfoot, there's a good possibility that Bigfoot may be some sort of interdimensional entity of some sort.
Yeah,
definitely. They've also been associated here in the States with UFO sightings at times.
Yeah,
that's pretty interesting that you brought that up.
So you know, sort of like the very fact that there's usually two balls of light seen around, you know, Bigfoot makes me wonder if they're using, or are they using a teleportation system? And
yeah,
is that
they
why?
may be.
Is that why you can't find Bigfoots? Because
that's what I've been saying. Absolutely.
They hightail out of there. Just like you see, one of the things is the second unit button below on his life suits is again, it's a knob that you turn, right? Yeah, you press this button in, you turn this knob, right? Yeah, and then you press the button in. And what happens is, whilst you've done that, you become invisible, right?
Wow.
you can walk through solid objects. So you turn it and press it, or you can press it in and leave it in, and then just let it pop out, and you're back. But you've got to be careful, because if you let that button out, and you've only gone through a wall, halfway through a wall, and you let that button out, it slips, you'll be stuck and you're dead in that wall. So it's a very, very dangerous thing, but it's a thing what we use to get out of ghosts, you know what I mean? Easy.
Can you describe what it's like when you're actually going through matter? Well, like when you're in that state, you just described. What is it like? I
always feel sick. I always feel like I don't like heights. I don't like roller coasters, and I feel I'm on a roller coaster.
Wow.
And I don't like it whatsoever. You know, that is one of the reasons, you know, I really do not like, you know, being taken, because for that reason, I always feel sick, you know.
I've had experiences like that myself. After having missing time, I've gotten sick to my stomach. One time when I was a child, I was taken. I'm pretty sure I was taken with my grandparents, actually, one night. And I remember that when after what I suspect was missing time occurred, I remember feeling really sick to my stomach, running a fever, being sick, very nauseous.
Yeah, that's another thing. We have something called after effects, and what those after effects affect different people in different ways. You can have a fever, you can be like you've got flu, you can have diarrhea and sickness as well, you know, sort of like as if you've had food poisoning, you know, the whole job lot. Now, what happened to me when all this started, because I've had so much of it, it's affected my health, and I have something called fibromyalgia now.
Yes, my wife has it. My wife has fibromyalgia. Yeah. It's a terrible,
my mom has
terrible disease.
Terrible
disease.
It's like, the thing is, they used to call it ME, myalgia encephalitis, at first. They call it all sorts. Fibromyalgia, chronic fatigue syndrome is another name. Burnout. Now I've got another name for it. I've got this name. What I've come up with. It's like what did I say the other day? It was like, you know, alien abduction syndrome. It's like alien abduction syndrome, or almost like you know, time travel sickness. Because in a way, it's like time travel. Because all as you're doing teleportation, it's a form of. You see, what happens is we can get out of trouble by, like I say, turning the dial, pressing the button in, and we become invisible. And we can walk through walls, we can walk through buildings, trees, vehicles. You know, so long as that button's pressed in, we can go. Now, this is something else that you might link, right? There's a link here, because the only time you can see us when we're moving, right? Yeah, what happens is you get this outline of us sometimes, not always. Some people can see it, some people can't, and that's the outline of a human or a silhouette, or should I say another name, right? Yeah, is shadow people.
What, really? So
yeah, that would make sense.
So Kayla,
do you get it?
Yeah.
So when you're seeing shadow people, right? Yeah, speaking from somebody that's used this technology, it knows what it's talking about, Ray. And I've seen my own unit use it. I've seen it. So when somebody's talking about shadow people, know all about shadow people, know all about them. I've drawn them in my book, you know, somewhere where I had the shadow people walk through my wall telling me a big discussion. And this is one of the reasons why I know a lot about these things, about being ill and having ME, because this particular evening I was laid on my bed listening to rock music, and these things walked through my wall, and they were just shadow people. And the main one, their unit leader, were telling me something, and I'm saying, no, I'm not going to do that. You are going to do it. I'm telling you, I'm not going to do that. You know, my sister could hear the talk, the conversation, and she said, "Oh, you're talking to him there?" And I said, "I'm talking to these." Well, my sister knew that there was nobody in the bedroom because the door were open, there was a gap in the door. So she said, "Can I come in?" So I said, "Yeah." She said, "Well, who are you talking?" I said, "Oh, they've gone now." I said, "They've gone back through that wall." And my sister said, "What?" So my sister went to the bathroom, and then she went back downstairs, and she says, "We've got a problem here." She says, "I think there's something wrong with our Russ." She says, "He's talking to people in his bedroom and there's nobody there." I went downstairs. My mum had 3 days off work because I became really ill. Now, I can tell you that the day this happened, and the funny thing about it, right, yeah, trust me to lose it now, but it should be with this. It was, it's not there. No, it's not on that one. What happened was that it was the day when Kuwait was invaded by Norman Schwarzkopf. Right?
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And that's when this happened to me. So the day 9 o'clock news, it came on the 9 o'clock news when this happened to me at about 8:30, 9 o'clock. So it was on that day, I think either the 2nd or the 4th. And that's what happened, basically. I had these shadow people walk, and I started being seriously ill.
Wow. Kaylin, I'm going to open the floor to you, my friend. I'll let you, we'll do some Q&A real quick. Go ahead, Kaylin.
With this technology, do you think it's just from the actual equipment that made you sick, or the experiments that got you sick?
I don't think we're supposed to be able to basically move through time and space and through solid objects. It's not what we are.
Mm-hmm.
But are we? You know, some people say that, you know, you're looking at your flesh and bone, but there's more gaps than there is solids. You know, there's a school of thought that says that, you know, we're just atoms, molecules all fixed together. So, you know, the fact that we sort of like the molecules are are moved, displaced from one place and moved and placed to another. You know, I don't think we're meant to be like that. You know, I don't think we're meant to be like that, and I think that is one of the reasons why I'd become ill. You know.
Mm-hmm.
Do you tell us a little bit about your books? How many books have you written?
Well, 2 at the moment. I'm on with another 1 or 2. That's the first one I wrote, E.T. Rider. That, as you can see, that's me coming out of one of the tunnels and UFOs above in the sky and what have you. That's me on the back pointing.
Wow.
And the second book is a case I've worked on 25 years. and it's about them crash landed at the side of a road.
Huh.
Wow. Can you tell us about that case a little bit, and also tell us how we can get your books as well? Can you elaborate on this
Yeah,
case?
this is they call it. It's in Welsh and in English as well. Alien Invasion Wales, and it's the Berwyn Mountains UFO cover-up. It's about not only one landing, because everybody thought there was one UFO landing that night in the Berwyn Mountains, and in the book, I've got all the paperwork all in here, which I'll just show you. You know, there's a lot of paperwork that I put in. There's from police logs. That's a piece of metal from a craft that I was given.
Oh wow,
Whoa.
that's a pretty good picture. Even from seeing it from over Skype here, I just wow.
I could see it pretty good. Yeah. It's like
So where's all the? There we are. This is all the paperwork. I took the names out and what have you of some of the officers and what have you.
So this is a well documented case. Who all was involved in investigating this case? Besides the local police, who else was the military or MI6 or anything like that involved? Do you speculate at least?
Well, yeah, there's a lot of disinformation because there's people that are claiming to have been there, and in here, right? Yeah, we've got the police logs. We've got all the police logs, and we've got all the telexes coming in from phone on that night. And there's people that are supposed to have been there involved that have said that they've spoken to police don't appear there. Right, yeah? There's somebody talking about this happened at 8:38. There were an earthquake. But we have somebody, that's on the police logs, but we've got somebody actually rings in on one of the teletext machines to the police and reports it 6 minutes before. This is 6 minutes before there's a reading by the British Geological Survey team, right? So how could that person know 6 minutes before about the earthquake? But he's not talking about an earthquake. He's talking about a craft that's come down, right? He's talking about an object that's come down, hit this mountainside and caused a landslide.
Wow.
Right? So how does he know that? Now, also, somebody asks about information. Is this the same area where the RAF was taking photographic information the day before, the same area? And it's one of these special jets that go up and take photographs. And apparently there's one roll of film, a tin, with the serial number on it from that day. So the funny thing is, it's like almost knew that there was something going to happen in this area. Because how would you have an RAF jet taking photographs the day before this happened at the same area unless they knew something was going to happen there?
Yeah, I mean, the logic dictates that they would have to know. They have to. Maybe this was something preordained. Maybe
exactly.
Yeah.
So
and they were there themselves.
These 5 gentlemen.
Yeah.
Were on
Exactly.
the way home from a gentleman's meeting, and they couldn't believe their eyes. In this field, there's a flying saucer. And there's 5 aliens, 2 looked like they were in some kind of difficulty, as if they'd had a crash, and the others were helping them. And no sooner had that happened, there were a roar of engines and vehicles, and they looked all around them, and the military's there. And they're being told, right, move, get out of this area, go home. And they're saying, one of them in particular was offended by them because he'd been in the army, this old man. And he says, I beg your pardon. He said, don't talk to us like that. And he says, look, he says, you've got to go now from this area, carry on and go home. Don't stop and get out of this area. So they did eventually, but they'd hatched a plan because one of them were a photographer. And in the back of the car, there was his camera and equipment. And apparently they took photographs. Now, I've been trying to get hold of these photographs for years. I had the metal given. I had a piece of metal from a piece of Harrier jump jet engine, which was supposed to have been shot down. Now, what they're saying is, before this happened, before that happened, where you've got the flying saucer that had landed, there was a battle took place out in the Irish Sea, and there were ships there. There were depth charging, and there were exploding depth charging in the sea, and it hit a couple of these flying saucers that were submerged. So what happens is they come out and they get attacked by jet fighters. The new jet fighters of the day were the Harrier jump jets, which could hover. So they chased them inland, and apparently there was a bit of a battle took place. And wow, there was at least 9 flying saucers. At least 9 flying saucers that night. And I think they destroyed 2. And I think they took one away to a special facility, and they took the aliens away to a military unit.
Wow, that's fascinating. And how many was there? Would you say was there a pretty decent amount of eyewitnesses that have come forward to support this?
There were 5 men that came forward, and they've passed away now. I mean, this is 25 years ago, and they were old men. They were getting old, then. You know what I mean? So there are 1 or 2 witnesses still about, but the problem is, we're listening to people saying things that weren't even there.
Wow, that's insane. That's crazy, man. Very fascinating. How for those of us who would like to check out your books, how can we get a hold of your books? What's the best?
Well, they're on Amazon. They're both on Amazon.
Okay.
That one, like I say, is Alien Invasion Wales, the story of the Berry Mountains cover-up. And the other one is E.T. Rider. That's a story about the original super soldier. That's me. Because I was talking, right, yeah? You see, the thing is, if you go to UFO paranormal.tv, I've got a website, and also on YouTube. I go out and film these things. I've been zapped while I've been filming UFOs, and you can see 5 balls of light come down in 1 split second when you do it in slow motion.
Wow.
And you can see me getting hit. And I'm showing the camera to my disabled friend who's passed away now. And I said, oh, come here a minute. I just want to carry on filming. So I carried on filming. because I said, that's odd. Something felt like it went down and up my body, like energy. When you slow it down in slow motion, you can see 5 balls of lights coming down, hitting me, hitting the camera as I'm filming.
Wow. That's insane.
Then there's a dolphin in the sky. I filmed a dolphin, right? There's no tether to it, so it wasn't a balloon and somebody holding these like a tether. And at first I thought, it's a balloon, that it's got to be. So it was.
Wow. That is unbelievable.
I've filmed quite a lot of things. A flying man, 2 of these balls of light with nothing in the middle, no fuselage, no wings. And I've just got to put a new one up, and it's me filming 2 triangles, 2 flying triangles come out of the bay where I live here, out of Filey Bay, and they're in the sea next to the road, so you can see how close to the road they are, and then they just take off and go up into the sky 20 miles down the road.
Wow.
So the thing is, I'm filming things. I'm not just talking about this has happened to me. I'm actually filming these things around me a lot of the times. And a couple of my friends had come on the Sky Watchers with me, and they filmed stuff as well. And I've put their videos up. I own the copyright of all the video footage on this site, UFOparanormal.tv.
Oh wow! So what is your website? Can you give us your website so we can so we can all check it out? What is your website right now?
Yeah, it's UFOparanormal.tv.
Okay.
And also that's the YouTube channel as well, UFO Paranormal TV.
UFO Paranormal TV is his website. We're going to all check that out, and we're also going to check out your books on Amazon. It's been really awesome having you, Mr. Kellett, as a guest. We need to have you come back sometime and talk more about the spooky woo. We really appreciate you being with us, and we enjoyed having you.
Well, thanks for having me in. Nice meeting you both. And is it Caleb?
Kalian.
Kalian.
Yes.
Nice meeting you too, Kalian.
Yeah, we'll have to have you back sometime for sure. Love to have you back.
I'm always around.
All right. You're listening to Project Stargate Fringe Research with our special guest, Mr. Russ Kellett, and my co-host, Kalian Bice-Bay, and we sure enjoyed being with you today. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like and subscribe button, and there'll be much more to come on Project Stargate Fringe Research. This is your host, Mark Brenner, signing off. Have a great day.